The snow that changed everything. The bus shelter offered little protection from the December wind. Sarah Mitchell sat hunched on the cold bench, her worn canvas coat pulled tight around her shoulders. At 32, she felt decades older. The divorce papers in her bag were still warm from the lawyer's office, though her heart had gone cold months ago. "You're defective," her husband Mark had said last week, his words cutting deeper than any winter chill. "My mother wants grandchildren. What's the point of a wife who can't give me that?" 8 years of marriage, reduced to her biological failure. The apartment they'd shared, the life they'd built, all of it now belonged to him. She had nowhere to go. Her parents were gone. Her friends had slowly drifted away during the years she'd spent trying to be the perfect wife. Snow began falling harder, thick flakes swirling in the streetlight's glow. Sarah pulled her bag closer, the one with everything she owned now. Some clothes, her mother's photo album, $43. She closed her eyes against the sting of tears and cold, "Excuse me, Miss..." The voice was gentle, concerned. Sarah looked up to find a tall man in a dark wool coat standing nearby. 3 small children clustered around him, their faces rosy from the cold. The oldest boy, maybe 7, wore a green puffer jacket. A girl of about 5 stood in red, mittened hands clasped together. The youngest, a boy of perhaps 3, was bundled in yellow, his wide eyes taking in everything. "I don't mean to intrude," the man continued, "but you look like you could use some help. Are you waiting for someone?" Sarah's instinct was to lie, to preserve her dignity. But something in his eyes, a kindness that reminded her of her father, made her pause. "No," she said quietly. "I'm just trying to figure out where to go." The man glanced at his children, then back at Sarah. "It's going to drop below freezing tonight. The shelters will be full on a night like this." He hesitated, seeming to wrestle with something. "My name is James Morrison. These are my children, Owen, Emma, and little Thomas. We live about 10 minutes from here. I know this is unusual, but I can't leave you here in good conscience. Would you consider coming home with us, at least for tonight? You'd have your own room." Warm meal. Time to figure things out. Sarah stared at him, searching for ulterior motives, but his children looked at her with simple, open curiosity. No judgment, no pity. Just 3 little faces, dusted with snowflakes. "Why would you help a stranger?" she asked. James smiled sadly. "Because 2 years ago, my wife died suddenly. Aneurysm. And in the months after, when I was drowning, trying to be both parents to these 3, strangers helped me. The neighbor who brought meals, the teacher who stayed late to watch the kids when I was running behind, the pharmacist who noticed I looked exhausted and just listened while I talked. Kindness is meant to be passed forward." Emma, the little girl in red, stepped closer. "You look sad," she said matter-of-factly. "Daddy makes really good hot chocolate when people are sad. It has extra marshmallows." Despite everything, Sarah felt the corner of her mouth lift. She looked from the children to their father, then at the empty bus shelter, the dark street beyond. Sometimes, her mother used to say, "Angels come in unexpected forms." "Okay," Sarah said softly. "Thank you." The Morrison home was warm and lived in, with children's drawings on the refrigerator and toys scattered across the living room floor. James showed Sarah to a small guest room that overlooked the backyard. "My wife's sister usually stays here when she visits," he explained. "Fresh towels are in the closet. The bathroom is just across the hall. Please, make yourself comfortable." Dinner was simple. Chicken soup and grilled cheese sandwiches. The children chattered about their day at school, and Sarah found herself relaxing for the first time in weeks. Owen was reading chapter books now and very proud of it. Emma loved to draw horses. Thomas was obsessed with trucks and made engine noises between bites. "Miss Sarah?" Owen asked, his serious young face tilted in thought. "Why were you sitting in the cold?" "Owen," James said gently. But Sarah raised a hand. "It's okay." She looked at the boy. Sometimes grown-ups have hard times, just like kids do. I was going through a hard time. Did someone hurt your feelings? Emma asked. Sarah, nada. Yes, someone did. That's not nice, Thomas said firmly, his small face indignant. No, Sarah agreed. It's not. After dinner, James sent the children to get ready for bed while he and Sarah cleaned the kitchen. You don't have to tell me anything, he said as he dried dishes. But if you need someone to listen, I'm here. The kindness undid her. Sarah found herself telling him everything. The years of trying to conceive, the tests, the diagnosis, Mark's growing resentment, his mother's cruel comments, the divorce, the emptiness of being deemed worthless because her body wouldn't cooperate. James listened without interruption. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. I'm sorry, he finally said. Not just for what happened, but that someone made you believe your worth is tied to one thing. You're so much more than that, am I? Sarah's voice cracked. I spent 8 years being a wife. That's all I was. Now I don't even have that. Now you have the chance to discover who Sarah is, beyond anyone else's expectations. Over the following days, what was meant to be one night became several. James insisted she stay until she had a solid plan. Sarah helped around the house, grateful for something to do. She cooked meals, folded laundry, and listened to the children's endless stories. Slowly, she felt pieces of herself returning. One evening, while the children were watching a movie, James found her in the kitchen. I have a proposition, he said. It might sound strange, but hear me out. Sarah turned from the stove, curious. I run a marketing firm downtown. We've been growing, and I desperately need an office manager. Someone organized, responsible, good with people. I've been conducting interviews for weeks with no luck. He paused. You mentioned you managed your husband's dental practice before he insisted you quit to focus on fertility treatments. Would you consider working for me? James, I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm offering. It's a real position with a real salary. You've proven yourself capable this week alone. You're excellent with details. You're efficient. And honestly, you already understand my scheduling chaos from managing things here. He smiled. Plus, the kids adore you. The office is family friendly. Sometimes they come in after school. That wouldn't be a problem. Sarah felt tears, threatening. I don't know what to say. Say, you'll think about it. She started the following Monday. The office was a converted warehouse space with exposed brick and large windows. The work was challenging in the best way, requiring her to coordinate between clients, creative teams, and vendors. She loved the puzzle of it, the satisfaction of systems running smoothly. The children did come by after school, doing homework in a corner of the office that James had. Set up with beanbags and a small desk, Sarah found herself helping with math problems, admiring drawings, and listening to Thomas practice his ABC. Months passed. Spring arrived, melding the last traces of that snowy December night. Sarah rented a small apartment nearby, proud to sign a lease in her own name. She reconnected with old friends she'd lost touch with, joined a book club, started taking weekend painting classes. One Saturday, James invited her to Owen's soccer game. She sat on the bleachers with Emma and Thomas, cheering as Owen scored a goal. Afterward, they all went for ice cream. You're coming to my birthday party, right? Emma asked. Vanilla ice cream dotting her nose. It's next month. I'm going to be 6, Daddy said. I can have a horse cake. I wouldn't miss it, Sarah promised. As they walked back to the car, Thomas slipped his small hand into hers. It was such a simple gesture, but it filled Sarah with unexpected emotion. She was part of something again. Not because of biology or marriage certificates, but because of connection, trust, and care. That evening, as James drove her home, he said, can I tell you something? Of course! When I saw you that night at the bus stop, I almost didn't stop. I was tired. The kids were cranky. I had 100 things on my mind. He glanced at her. I'm so glad I did. You've become important to us, Sarah. To all of us. You saved me that night, Sarah said quietly. In every way, a person can be saved. No, James said. We saved each other. You reminded me that my kids needed to see their father being kind, being open. You brought joy back into our home. You made us a family again. 2 years later, on a December evening remarkably similar to that first night, Sarah stood in James's kitchen, helping prepare dinner. The children were older now. Owen at 9 was becoming quite the reader. Emma at 7 had her room covered with horse drawings. And Thomas at 5 never stopped asking questions about how things worked. James came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. What are you thinking about? He asked. About snow, Sarah said, and kindness, and how life can change in a single moment. They'd been married for 6 months now, a quiet ceremony with just the children and a few close friends. Sarah had been nervous about becoming a stepmother, worried she wouldn't be enough. But Owen had taken her hand before the ceremony and said, "We already think of you as our mom. This just makes it official." The children called her Mom. Now naturally, without prompting, they came to her with scraped knees and bad dreams, with triumphs and disappointments. She attended school conferences and soccer games, baked birthday cakes, and kissed foreheads at bedtime. She was a mother, not through biology, but through love, through showing up, through being chosen and choosing in return. Sometimes, late at night, Sarah thought about Mark, about the woman he'd eventually marry, hoping to get the children he wanted. She held no bitterness anymore. That marriage had to end so this life could begin. I'm thinking, Sarah said, turning in James's arms, about how grateful I am for that snowy night, for your kindness, for these beautiful children, for second chances, third chances, James corrected with a smile. Fourth chances, as many as it takes. From the living room came the sound of the children arguing about which movie to watch, their voices loud and alive and wonderfully normal. Sarah laughed. I should go referee, she said. We should go referee, James corrected. Together, they walked into the living room, into the beautiful, messy reality of family. Outside, snow began to fall again, soft and silent, covering the world in new whiteness. Inside, there was warmth and laughter and love enough for everyone. Sarah had learned that being thrown away doesn't mean you're disposable. Sometimes it just means you were in the wrong place, with people who couldn't see your value. And sometimes, when you least expect it, someone sees you, cold, hurting, lost, and they say the simplest, most powerful words. Come with me. Those 3 words had changed everything. They'd led her from despair to hope, from loneliness to belonging, from believing she was broken to understanding she was whole exactly as she was. Every family begins somewhere. Some begin with biology. Others begin with choice. The strongest ones begin with kindness. And on cold winter nights, when the children are asleep and the house is quiet, Sarah sometimes looks out at the snow and remembers that bus shelter, that frozen bench, that moment when everything changed. She remembers, and she's grateful. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales of hope and human kindness. Leave a comment below and tell us about a time when a stranger's kindness changed your life. Your story might inspire someone else who needs hope today.